you, everybody, joining for my podcast. Today, I'm going to interview Angelo Fienga. He's my colleague in Cisco, and we have worked together for quite some time in different projects. And Angelo has been working on design thinking for quite some time. And I would like to hear more from Angelo about design thinking and how do we apply this into our job roles. So, Angelo, why don't you start with your introduction first, and then we move into the design thinking topic.
Sure. I'm Angelo Fienga. I'm a business architect in the Cisco Center of Excellence in EMEA, and I'm taking care of collaboration and the integration of collaboration and other Cisco architecture. So I'm looking at complex projects and relevant to the design thinking. I'm working to transform customer needs into solution, into something that is satisfying their needs, but is also pleasant to use.
Nice, thanks. Maybe you should also start with your background as well. Like, how did you get into the tech industry, and what motivated you to be like a technical engineer, and because you do a lot of stuff, outside your job role as well. So we would like to hear more from your background as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very good question. So I've always been a techie. So from when I was a kid, I had the passion for, building and using remotely controlled aircraft, which in later days drove me to drones, and using
Nice.
drones within complex solutions. So drone is going back to technology, drone is an IoT thing, right? And so technology has been always at the very heart, at the very center of my heart. So I love technology for the use you can do with that. So in my entire career, from when I started to most recent year, I kept training in different technologies. So collaboration, IoT, data science. That I spent a couple of years recently. I concluded that last year in taking a second master in data science. Since I really believe, that data transformation is essential in our days, in our background to understand how to extract value from data. But at the same time, and that's very interesting, when I started, going deeper and deeper into technology, I started, looking at some, how can I say, some shortcomings that we techies we have in our approach. That is that we love technology and we apply technology full stop, sometimes without looking at the real reason behind that. That is solving a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes yeah, sorry, please.
Yeah, no, I was amazed just to hear that you managed to complete your master's while working full time, actually more than full time, right? So you spend I think more than like 60 hours in your job role and of course your family responsibilities as well. So well, quite amazed. Okay, let's go into the design thinking topic. So I think I would like to know, as a beginner, like what is design thinking and why do we need this in our job roles? And then we will further go into the discussion where people generally think design thinking is basically applicable in a developer's environment, where if you're a developer, you're developing a product, software product, this is very much relevant in that environment. But I would like to know more whether we can apply design thinking into a non-developer job role as well. Like as a solution architect, you're basically deploying or designing a solution, right? Whether this is a calling or meetings or any technical solution that you're designing for a customer. How do we apply design thinking into that? So I'm going to give the floor to you, and yeah.
That's really the very key point here is understanding what design thinking is and how you can apply. So I'm going to start a little bit broader, stating that from when I started looking at design thinking, I'm applying that not only in my let's say working life, but also in my personal life. Design thinking, the very base of the applying with in understanding my daughter's problem, and helping them as well. The concept of design thinking is it looks like the coding of common sense. The very basic concept is you need to understand the needs you want to satisfy, your customer needs, to get more and more intimate with that, to be able to understand and solve and create something that is not only satisfying the need, but it's satisfying with pleasure. So people has to be happy to use what you're building to satisfy their needs. And this goes through a combination of skills. Sometimes I think one of the best definition of design thinking is what you can find in, of course, in Wikipedia. But also, let me share with you an image that I really like, because it's giving an idea about what design thinking is. So look at this. It's a combination of business, of course, because when you apply into a business context, you want to satisfy a business need. You want to, make your customer happy because you're solving a problem from him. Of course, as a strong technology component, because technology is at the base of the design thinking, to build solution, to create, to elaborate things that can help people to achieve their scope. And then, the keyword human, people. Design thinking is all about satisfying, helping how to best satisfy the people's need. If I'm dealing on a data science project, on a, let's say, pure data analytics project, you may not need to have design thinking, because maybe the problem is clear. You need to create an equation that is solving a specific problem. But every single time you have a human need, a human desire, a human interaction involved, then design thinking is making the difference, because it's helping you to understand how to best address that need. And that need may be different than the problem your customer is expressing. Needs and problems are related, definitively, but they're not the same thing. So the design thinking is more than a methodology. It's a mindset first and a methodology after, to understand and make needs concrete, and then based on that, convert into a solution, convert into something or in a process, to address, that specific need. That is what is design thinking in my vision, and why this is relevant. And this is also, helping me to address your second question. Where can you apply? Well, you can apply it in all those problems. It's not only building a product, it's understanding a problem, is defining a need. I'm applying that in almost every single deal I'm dealing with, because it's a methodology for me to extract the real need, and from there build the solution or the product, or the combination of technology that is going to satisfy the customer need.
Interesting. So is it fair to say that we not only we are looking to solve a problem, but we also try to establish the problem first, right? We perhaps sometimes we don't know what the problem is. What are we solving here, right? We may have a bunch of complaints or issues and challenges from, let's say, a customer, and we don't really know, okay, what is the business problem we are trying to solve? Is it fair to say that we establish the problem statement, right? And then we look for options. Yeah.
I have a great example about that. If you want, I can tell about, because this is something that it's really, really amazing to me. This is not at all, it has to do with technology, but the real need is different. So this is a story that I was told, which was really, really interesting to me. It's about magnetic resonance, MR, for kids.
MRI.
So MRI, yes. So the hospital, the company that needed that, gave the problem to solve to a very good technical specialist, and essentially because kids they generally react really very bad to the MRI, since the noise, the claustrophobia. Essentially the problem is that kids are reacting bad. So they asked the technician to solve the problem, and they did this fantastic device, which is faster, smaller. So essentially, it's making the impact in terms of emotion, in terms of using the device, less impactful for kids. But at the same time, the issue is still there. Kids do not want to jump in, do not want to use this device. They don't. They're scared. So, going through a design thinking approach, the idea was, okay, what is the problem? Is the problem being the device too slow, too fast, etc.? Or is the problem to incentivize kids, creating some creating the mood for kids to jump in there, which is the problem, which was solved in a different way, not changing the device, or actually changing the device, but changing the
experience,
the narrative behind that, changing the experience. You made, you got the word, changing the overall experience, telling kids that they would have been, involved in a spaceship travel, or in a trip to Rome or whatever, right? So changing the narrative around the story, so creating a fully different experience. So you see that the problem and the need, that's the main difference that you need to understand when you're facing a problem. And this, applies in every single day in our job. As a TSA, as an architect in Cisco, since the level of problems I'm facing every single day, it's changing and it's challenging. And let me give you an idea about some of it, how we are exposed, as technicians. So bring my clothes and furniture back. Find asset in a parking lot. Keeping fish in the farm, and you can look at this. These are really new problem domains. Look at the first one. Bring my clothes and furniture back. You may think, what the hell has this to do with technology? Guess what? This is about circular economy and sustainability. And on circular economy and sustainability, there are a huge amount of money being put in Europe and everywhere in the world, to create a more inclusive and more sustainable business. So can we solve this with technology? Yes, of course, but we need to understand how. We need to understand what are the needs. Yeah, what are the enablers that we can work on to solve the problem. And of course, technology is going to be there, but first you need to understand the need and what are the steps to satisfy that.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is problem and needs can be two different things, right? You have to establish the problem first, and then what do customer need to solve that problem? That could be two different things. Am I right?
That's exactly. You're perfectly right. And this is actually what we generally do in a design thinking session or workshop.
Yeah. And so I think at a high level, just tell us, how does design thinking workshop flows? Like, what's the workflow in terms of how do we start, and what is the end result? How do we get to that end result? And doesn't take like multiple sessions, or we can do this like in one session or one day. Just at a high level, we don't have to go into the deep root level.
Yeah, that's interesting, because if you asked this question 18 months ago, I would have told you we are going to meet in a physical workshop for a couple of days. Then we are going to meet maybe in 6 months from now, or 3 weeks, or whatever. Now the pandemic has changed this a little bit, and we have been able to create a model that is respecting the design thinking approach, still working online. So integrating. So that was a design thinking, let's say, result.
We did that like 2 years ago, right?
Thinking.
At Richardson,
yes,
like you and my team, and we did that like two days workshop. Yeah, I remember that.
Exactly. Yeah, now we structured that kind of workshop in a slightly different way to be managed online. But how can we do that? And let me show you very, very high level the kind of approach we are taking. So this is the Cisco Design Thinking Framework. Generally, what we do is we identify a challenge that is reflecting our customer needs. When I'm talking about design thinking workshop, I'm talking about a workshop that is going to be is going to include multiple people, multiple experience. So, for instance, I'm thinking to something we did last year in North in Ireland with the customer. So we were 4 Cisco people and 25 people from the customer covering multiple areas, IT, marketing, HR, and business people, account managers, operational people. The reason for doing this is because you want to have a multidisciplinary approach to the problem. And what you do, you identify a challenge. The challenge is, in that case, was how can we create an omni-channel circular economy approach that is providing value for the end customer, so the consumer, but also to the brand. And the brand was the customer was a luxury brand in UK and I. So you identify a challenge and you go through 3 phases high level. The discovery phase, where you are empathizing with the customer. You are putting yourself in the shoes, in the dress of the customer to understand all the aspect of the needs. And you do this, as I say, in a multidisciplinary approach. I'm bringing my vision, you're bringing your vision, the HR people is bringing his vision, his or her vision, and so on, So it's a sort of divergent phase where you are discovering the opportunity from multiple aspects. Right after that, with the input from the first phase, as a matter of fact, you have tools like the empathy map, all the tools that can help you in extracting the information, the issue, the desire of customer. And then you go to the define phase. The define phase is where you are starting moving from needs, abstract needs, into a little bit more concrete idea. It's the phase where you're starting asking questions like, how might we, this is actually one of the exercises, how might we enable or incentivize people to come back into the store, to change the old shirt, for instance. How might we provide incentives for people to be back, in 6 months from now? How might we incentivize or create, for instance, a recurrent, or if you want, a subscription revenue model for clothes? You see, you're starting converting high-level ideas into potential solution, so into something that is more concrete. So hypothesis of ideas, and all of this is going to be selected by I would say, the common intelligence, the aggregated intelligence of people. As a matter of fact, at the very end of each session, people are going to vote. They're going to jointly deliberate what is going to the next stage.
Yeah,
the next
like
stage
dot voting, using
dot
voting.
voting, exactly. That's exactly the dot
I
voting.
like the term that you mentioned when we were having this design thinking workshop, was democratizing the design solution, right? Like if you're giving power to everybody in the audience to take part in terms of brainstorming session, identify the problem, and then also suggest potential solutions. And then, of course, you will have a lot of solutions coming from different audience, because you have a diverse audience, right? And then you do dot voting to basically, select, okay, which is the best solution amongst, let's say 15, 20 solutions proposed, right?
Exactly. The two things that I like to mention is democratizing the innovation, because as you are saying, this is designed in order to have everyone, even the most shy person, to contribute with his definitely valuable capability, intellect, knowledge, and everyone is stimulated to cooperate. And the second one is the collective intelligence, because through that you're going to shape the need into what is really relevant, and finally to explore it, in the last phase with prototypes. As a matter of fact, at the very end of this, we get prototypes or what we call journey to be. So how we would see a project to progress or a solution to be developed. And since you do this with your customer, looking at their desiderata, their idea, and I've done a lot of this with customer, you collectively get at that point, and where you may have the investment decision, and that's very good because it's not me or you or a Cisco colleague suggesting something to the customer, but the customer itself working with Cisco, getting at that result, and then you test it, you prototype it. You may go back and change something, but it's something that we will, at that point, we will have developed together.
Yeah, basically it's like a constant feedback, you are getting from the customer that you are testing this product with, and then you always try to change based upon the feedback that you're getting. Cool, that's great. And I know that this sometimes becomes challenging when you're trying to drive a consensus, right, in terms of having a diverse audience, and you may have, I would not say challenge, but you may have some sort of a friction, right, between different people, and then they're trying to bring their own ideas, and you as a facilitator to balance it. Look, can you share some stories in terms of those challenges that you have faced, and how did you solve them?
Oh yeah, so we have it happens, right? So again, people mood may influence that, and in any meeting you have multiple kind of characters. People that are wishing to cooperate, people that are trying to impose, people that are shy. They don't want to maybe sometimes to contradict other stuff. So that's very common, in meetings, and the design thinking approach is very effective to that because it helps in shaping ideas, in shaping characters, in shaping moods to a contributional approach. So, for instance, the fact that we are using the post-it. So one of the things I generally do is I'm stating a minimum number of post-it, even if they're digital or physical, doesn't matter, for each one to contribute. So I'm forcing people, or I'm incentivizing people, to contribute to that, And then as a facilitator, this is one of the jobs you do. It's helping people in contributing, rewarding them in words for what they're doing, incentivizing people to look at each other ideas to create more. And it happens like in every meeting that that you do, is that you have people that try to hijack the meeting. Happens every single time.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Yes. And there are interesting tools, and you sometimes they're doing for the good reason, because your flow of ideas may bring to something that is really valuable, but not necessarily in line with the scope of the design thinking session. Sometimes you have people that simply tries to hijack, because it's their approach to life, right? Yeah, that's the style. And this is, and generally one of the things I love to do is to use what I call the fishbowl. It's not a trick, actually. Is a real tool. I have a fishbowl with a piranha inside that I'm kindly asking people to feed with divergent ideas. So, for instance, if someone is jumping in with a very interesting idea that is something not necessarily related to the discussion in the workshop, I'm asking him to put in the fishbowl because it's worth to be followed up, right? If I have someone that is jumping in with, crazy hijacking idea, I'm still using the fishbowl as a way to park the idea and to, bring the attention back to the main stuff. And this is generally helping, because you still give the people the opportunity to express themselves. You give them attention until, the post-it is in the fishbowl. Then, let's go back and keep working. And this is working really fine. And let me tell you one thing that I think is very important. One of the best result of a design thinking workshop is not only reaching out a specific product or project, is having people talking to each other. I don't know if you recall the one we had, but in multiple meetings I had with customer, one of the best outcome feedback I got from the customer is, you know what, you allowed us to talk to each other, and we don't generally do this in the office. Talking across business units, talking across areas, talking across the
bringing down the
enterprise
silos.
structure, bringing down the silos. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's very important when you are trying to do something that is going to be valuable for the organizational team. Then it's important to take their feedback and input and understand their point of view as well, right? So very much applicable. So one thing I want to discuss is, we are generally called sales engineers, right? You are a sales engineer, I'm a sales engineer, and we are, trying to sell, complex solutions to the customer, right? Whether this is, contact center, or it's a video-based, audio video conferencing deployment, or it's a calling, kind of a cloud PBX deployment. How do we apply design thinking in our job role as an SC, regardless whether selling a collaboration product or any other product to the customer? How do we apply this? Can you give, one or two examples?
Oh, yes. For instance, the one I mentioned before was about a brand, luxury brand, or a retailer, luxury retailer in North UK, in UK and I. The way we managed that was, working with the account team. So the account team identified the need, the transformational need this customer had, but the customer couldn't frame it properly itself. So the account team decided to involve me and another facilitator, design thinking facilitator, and we structured a workshop. We structured a workshop for the customer. So we started interacting with them. We understood their high-level need, and we offered a 2 days workshop in Dublin with their people. We identified the people to the profile, not the people, the profiles to involve. They identified the people. Yes, exactly. And we organized the event in Dublin. We spent there 2 full days. So at the end of that, we had 4 journey to be. So 4 let's say solution roadmaps for 4 of their key items. It was about creating essentially a new business model and technology to enable that. So that is an example. I also had a similar engagement
and
with
just one quick question. So on that, when you basically develop that roadmap, so that is product agnostic or vendor agnostic? Like, how do you map the solution of the problem and the product?
Let me give you an idea on the real thing, so you can look it yourself. So, can you see this?
Yes, we can.
So we started from the challenge statement. How can we create a simplified omnichannel luxury circular customer experience for living and furniture, which is also profitable? So we look at the existing issue in the customer. We identify the personal, the profile of the typical customer with his needs and pains. So look at, she has a cozy, trendy home. She wants to follow trends, but trends are changing too quickly. And you see, these are not technical things. These are personal needs, At the same time, the customer needed to create a process, a program to satisfy that. At the very outcome of the meeting, the 2-day workshop, that was the journey to be. Look at this, nothing apparently associated to technology. She wants the furniture. She begin searching on social media. she's attracted by the website or by some social media advertising. She engaged in a design experience that is online, and this design experience is driving her into a shop to talk with the representative, or she could have been engaged with the online chat or video with the representative. She goes in the shop, she gets a personalized experience, and she gets a program delivery. And then once she's at home, she starts interacting with the things. She's still, interacting with the brand because she gets consultancy and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay, do you see? Until she decides to go to the next, purchase cycle or life cycle of their goods. If she wants to give to her parents or to someone else and change something. So you see, it's a circular approach. Now, you see all these asterisks here?
Yeah, these are dot wording, right?
No, these are the technology that is enabling all of this.
Okay, I understand.
So this is
That's
how
how you
technology
map product with different
exactly
pain points. Okay.
Or a phase of the experience. This is not about a product. We're not talking about building a car. Could have applied the same methodology and same approach for building something. But look at this. This is a complex circular economy project to enable a business model that is not existing today, including multiple technology and having multiple data sets to be analyzed, CRM and stuff like that. And guess what? This is what is going to happen. And these are the relevant technology.
Interesting.
Are going to be applied. So that's the relationship you have between user experience and technology. And all of this, all of this has been defined in a 2-day workshop.
Interesting. So basically, I think if I want to summarize, as a sales engineer or SE or solution architect, whatever you call them, you can very much apply this, methodology to do the discovery, with your customer to understand, okay, what are they going through with regards to their current system, their challenges, their pain points, and what are their needs in terms of, looking at the future, like what they want to do 3 years down the line with respect to their business. And then we start, identifying those, challenges and how do we propose solutions in different stages. And then you start, mapping out your products. And I think that's the best way to sell a product, because it's a consultative selling approach, value-based approach, rather than selling a feature, right?
Exactly. Technology comes after you understand what's the overall user experience, what the value is. Technology is an enabler, it's not the solution.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. The last question I have in my mind is, not everybody is aware of that, right? So what is your suggestion or advice to the engineers if they would like to pursue that skill? Like, do we have any certification that exists out there that people can take on, or do they want to do some self-learning? Like, what do you suggest?
Oh, there is a very, very, very easy landing point if you're interested in learning more about design thinking in Cisco. This is the website we have on DevNet, developer.cisco.com/design thinking. You have all the design thinking resources we put available. So you can do your self-learning, you can engage with people there. If you are a Cisco employee, we have a design thinking organization, a design thinking space in WebEx where we are discussing, a new methodology, new thing, new everything that can help. We can help with with colleagues.
Okay.
So, but this is one of the first thing I would suggest everyone to start from, the design thinking for everyone at Cisco.
Interesting. Okay. And if you're not a Cisco employee, then for an outsider, like, what is the best?
This is for external as well.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, great.
Yes, this is DevNet. This is public and free things
Perfect.
that we are making available for everyone.
Perfect. Perfect. And the button at the bottom, it says join designs, thinking community. Is it like
Community,
a
yes.
community page? Okay. All
It's a
right.
community,
Or
yes.
or is there any external, WebEx space that people can join and, have some sort of an interaction?
I think that is external.
Okay.
That community, I think, is external. So we have, of course, an internal community, but as far as I know, that
Yeah.
the community is external as well. It's for people, Cisco DevNet is, our external face for developers,
That's
for
right.
APIs,
Yeah.
for, building on top of Cisco. And by signing it for free, you can get access to many resources, programming resources, AI, whatever, including design thinking, and you can join the community there. You can share experience there and learn from others like you.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Angelo. I think this is very helpful and very knowledgeable. And I'm sure, we would like to learn more from you as maybe next time when we meet 6 months down the line. I just wanted to say one thing here. This podcast is recorded on Cisco WebEx platform. So we are using Cisco WebEx meetings. I'm using Cisco DX80 as my device video endpoint using my Cisco headset. And I'm sure, Angelo, you're using a Cisco 730 as well. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. So this is the best experience that we get, out of Cisco every day. So keep using Cisco WebEx. And thanks everybody who is listening and watching this video podcast. And I'll see you in my next video.